Hey, thanks for joining me today. I am Saku, and in this tutorial I will show you the process of porting Booth avatars to Source 2 Filmmaker. Booth is the biggest marketplace for free and paid virtual avatars, and Source Filmmaker is Valve's promotional video tool available in some of their games. Now it's time to cross these two streams and get more people creating together. This tutorial is just under 40 minutes long, but it takes more than 2 hours to go through it, so remember to take breaks. If you have index controllers, you also have Half-Life Alyx, which includes workshop tools as free DLC. Open the tools and then create a new add-on. In Source you can only have lowercase and underscores in names, so it's better to start naming things properly. Make sure VR is turned off if you don't need it. Right-click your add-on and choose Explore Content folder. Then make a folder for models and make new subfolders like VRChat and model name to keep things tidy. Explore the 3D objects and Booth models. What? This is not where we have them? You should try it out, it's great to be organized. Anyway, copy the textures and model files to the content folder. Source 2 can even use PSD files if that fits your workflow. Replace any non-ASCII letters or spaces in your file names. Source 2 can use FBX files, but in my example, either the material slots or the morph normals were broken. So let's fix it up in Blender. If the model has a blend file, it's always best to use that. My example doesn't have one, so we are going to File, Import FBX. Copy the model path from Explorer. Make sure you have Use Pre-Post Rotation checked. Rename the collection and save the blend file in the content folder to have everything in one place. X is forward in Source, so you have to rotate the model by 90 degrees on the Z-axis. Source also uses inches, so you have to scale the avatar by 40. Select all objects and apply all transforms on them. Change the outliner's display mode to Blender file to easily check the names of bones, materials and objects. You have to replace everything that is not ASCII letters, numbers or underscores. Even periods or spaces are not allowed. Extra characters can be replaced with batch renaming, but if you have Japanese names, you can use cats to translate them quickly. Open cats in the sidebar and translate all under model options. Just make sure Cats doesn't do anything stupid like rename the face mesh. Go to edit mode on the armature and press Ctrl F2 to batch rename. Search and replace any extra characters or spaces with underscores on all the bones. If your mouse is in the outliner, you can't rename bones. Found it the hard way. The eyes are a special case and they will only work if they are called I_L and I_R. Materials also need to be renamed to remove extra characters. You can't do batch rename on shape keys, but I've included a script in the description that you can use to batch rename them. You can't use underscores in shape key names because they are used to mark special shape keys like left and right. You might have to go through the shape keys to remove leftover characters, but you only have to do it for the shape keys that you plan on using. Booth avatars use custom normals to have smooth fading on the face, but Blender recalculates the normals for shape keys and they become misaligned. Make a duplicate of the body mesh and right-click to cancel move. We won't export it to Source, but it still helps to name things properly. Back on the body mesh, create a data transfer modifier that uses the duplicated mesh. Set it to transfer custom normals under face corner data and set it to topology. Move the duplicate out of the model collection and press M to move it to a new collection that you turn off. Now the shape keys will preserve custom normals. This only works in Blender and with a DMX file, but not an FBX. Make sure Blender source tools are installed, link in description. Go to Scene Properties and under Source Engine Export, browse the export path to the same folder as the blend file and change the version to Binary 9 and Model 22 ModelDoc. It will export based on collections, so make sure that you have your meshes in the collection with the correct name. In the tools, make sure VR is disabled and then launch the tools for your add-on and open ModelDoc. Click Add Meshes and add the DMX file. Compile the model and save it in the same folder as everything else. If you check the skeleton, many bones might be missing. The official documentation tells you to show hidden categories and change bone culling from accuracy to none, but I didn't see a difference. You need to go to the skeleton view, expand all and select everything. Unselect the skeleton and add bone markup and turn on Do Not Discard. Compile and rattle me bones! Add a default material group in ModelDoc and open the material editor. Make a new material and turn on morph supported and then type in the browser search to find the color texture. Save a new material for each of the slots in the default material group and then find the color textures. If the texture has an alpha map, you will need to switch the shader to VR complex. Translucency is meant for transparent materials and alpha test is for cutout. After you switch to VR complex, you need to turn on specular under PBR. The translucency needs its own texture. You might find masks already in your files or you have to separate them yourself. Here I use XNView MP to extract the alpha channel, but you can use Photoshop or whatever works for you. Translucency textures end in _trans. Save all the materials and then assign them in the default material group. Go to the asset browser and use the filters to only show materials in your current add-on to assign the materials fast. Select the material and then press the red arrow to pull it from the global browser. Hold Alt and use the mouse buttons to orbit, pan and zoom. For some materials like skirts, you need to turn on render back faces. For some reason it doesn't work with VR Simple, so you have to switch to VR Complex. Turn on Specular to make it look like VR Simple. You can even try cloth shading for the costume. To test the morphs, you need an animation. You can add an empty anim from the list. Go to Morph Explorer and enable manual slider control and the shape keys should just work. Open Source Filmmaker from the tools. Name your session and choose a frame rate. The correct answer is 60 FPS. Right-click the viewport and set session map. I will use the starting level of Half-Life Alyx. Right-click and set camera to map player start. Hold right-click and move the camera with the mouse and WASD, Z and X to go up and down and Shift to go fast. Go to Animation Set Editor and click on the plus to create anim set for a new model. Choose the avatar that you made earlier. Press Tab to go into the motion editor and select the avatar to move it around. You can hold Shift to snap it to surfaces. VRChat avatars can be much smaller than humans.
So small.
Right-click the avatar and add scale control to it from the utilities. The scale will be under the body category. Drag the secondary viewport to the bottom left like this to get another camera. If you don't see the secondary viewport, go to Windows and load the default layout. Click on the small arrow here to create a new camera and then create an anim set for it. You can't move the camera anymore if you are not in the motion editor. Press Tab to open motion editor and change the camera's FOV to 40. Put it in the position and then use the work camera to move around. Now you can see the final image in the secondary viewport. If your computer is weak, you can disable the lighting to get more frames. Shift select humanoid bones in the anim set editor and then right-click them and draw them as bones to make them more easily selectable. Do it for the spine, arms and legs. Press Q, W, E and R to switch between different manipulators. Q is for selecting bones and R is for the screen manipulator. Use the square to move the bone, the circle to rotate it, the outside edge to rotate it in the view and hold Alt to move it away and closer. Drag the small tab to change the pivot point of the manipulator and then double click it to put it back. Now start posing the avatar. Select the bone with a grandparent like the hand and right click it in the editor to attach an IK rig. If the bones are straight, the script doesn't know how to attach the rig. You need to bend the bones slightly and then do it again. Now keep posing the avatar. Holding Alt and mouse buttons can orbit around the selection like in ModelDoc. You can select multiple bones with lasso select and then hold Ctrl to add to or remove from the selection. Right click and change rotation mode to local to bend fingers easily. Click the small arrow to copy the view to the work camera and then use the scroll wheel to get a closer look. Select the ends of a long chain like the tail and right click to attach a spline rig to pose it easily. It often gets scrunched up, so adjust the tension handles to fix it. Right-click to change the resolution of the viewport. If you're making a poster, then 1000 by 1500 is a good aspect ratio. You need to adjust the camera FOV after changing the aspect ratio. Now pose the avatar some more with your newfound abilities. Create an anim set for a new spotlight. Drag it into the viewport to move it like a camera. The lights are very bright by default, so turn down the intensity. Right-click and enable shadows on the key light. Put another spotlight to the bottom left of the avatar to have a fill light. Turn down its intensity but do not enable shadows on it. Add 2 more spotlights and put them behind the avatar to get rim lights. Enable shadows on them and turn down their intensity. Add 1 more spotlight to the top of the avatar with shadows on. Toggle the different lights to see what kind of effect they have and adjust their intensities. Open the post-processing editor from the other tools. Make a new file and turn down the exposure slightly and turn up the solder strength and toe strength. If it's not updating in the viewport, you might have to scrub the time a bit. You can make it play in a loop to have it always update. Add a bloom layer and change it to screen, turn down the strength and increase the brightness fade. Add a color balance layer. Change the values to extremes to see what kind of effect they have and then dial them in to a good point. You shouldn't copy what I do and you should find the look yourself, but here are my values anyway. Toggle the effects and compare to the original to not overdo it. You need to save the post-processing separately if you want to use it later. Right-click the viewport to edit render settings. You can turn off motion blur if you don't need it for the poster, but increase the depth of field samples to at least 128. Go to the camera and adjust the focal distance so the avatar is in focus. Increase the aperture to something like 5. Go to the clip editor and then you get progressive refinement in the camera. Increase the radius on the key light to get soft shadows. Very nice. All the lights should have a radius of at least 1, I think it's in inches, but 10 is a better value for key and fill lights. Adjust the intensities and colors to your liking. Find the expressions in the list and select all of them with Shift. Then you can try them one by one. For any shape keys that had left and right versions, you can use the stereo controls to adjust them individually. You can also use the usual blend shapes to remove clipping that is on the avatar. Then spend way too long tweaking small things that no one will ever notice. Yay. Go to File and Export. Oh, remember to save first. Go to File and Export the poster. Browse the output path for the poster. You can put it in your pictures or somewhere, and then give it a name. Change it to PNG and choose a resolution. The width and height need to be divisible by 4. Divide the last 2 digits by 4 to see if a big number is divisible by 4. When you're done with the tools, shut them down from the Tools menu and save your work. You did it! Great job! If you made it this far, send your poster to me right now on Twitter or Discord. If you got stuck at any point, message me and maybe we can learn something new together. Using Source Filmmaker can be very difficult, so don't get too ambitious and learn something new every day. I've been Saku and you've been watching, so never stop creating.